Sometimes I've done that. I've said, I'm going to give away a copy of this book. You're already entered because you're on my newsletter list. And so then I'll just pick a name and I'll email them and say, hey, you're the winner of the book. I don't do this as much now because it's more work to remember to follow up and then post who won it.
Yeah. But when you're first starting out, you got a lot of energy and you're really excited.
You have more energy.
You're not jaded and rickety sitting on your front porch going, hey, kids, get off my lawn.
Welcome to Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sara Rosette.
And I'm Jami Albright. And this week on the show,
we have us answering questions. We're doing an Ask Us Anything, and we got some questions, and we're going to deep dive into a couple of them and go in, mostly, I think, into reader magnets is what we're going to talk about a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, which ties into one of the questions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah. So what's been going on with you this week?
I have been driving across the country. We're back home. We drove from Colorado to Houston, which is a long drive. We took a couple of days, saw family.
Yeah.
So, it was good to see everybody. It's good to be back home. It's great. Although we're still in that, like, oh my gosh, I have to open all the mail, have to clean the house and, because we've been gone a while. It's catch up day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but other than that, we did a writing sprint the other day, and that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that is about it. I've finished up a couple of things, and I'm figuring out what I want to do for the end of the year after the book launch.
Yeah.
What do I want to focus on for Christmas and the holidays? And got some big ideas for that, but I'm not going to talk about it right now because I don't have them figured out yet.
Close to the chest.
Maybe next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, well, still doing TikToks, still doing Instagram, still making a fool of myself on the daily. Oh, well. And actually, I think yesterday I did not make a fool of myself, which,
that's good. One day.
I guess. One day in a row.
You like to make people smile, so
I do.
maybe it's okay.
Even at the expense of my own dignity. So I'm still doing that. We did do the writing sprint the other day for our supporters, and Allison was there. And so if you want to join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific, is that right?
Yeah.
Then please join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I did not do any writing, but I did get some things done, some email stuff done that I've been putting off for a while. It took me 40 minutes to do, as it does, because, I think, it's just too much. And then it's not.
It's once you get to it, but it's the dreading of it. Yeah.
Right. I'm keeping my grandkids this week. The other grandmother and I are Loco Camp, and it is Loco around here.
Loco Coco.
Yeah. I mean, when they were little, it was tough because, they're little. Now 3 are in school, 2 are in preschool, but they have activities in the afternoon. Literally yesterday, I was in the car driving for 2 hours, one-to-one thing, because there are 5 of them, and they don't all have something, but 3 of them did. And my daughter calls it her Uber shift, and I took over her Uber shift yesterday. So, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting ready to be out of town for a while because we're going to go to Becca's
Better Faster
event in Minneapolis. And that's at the 1st of October. Then I'm doing Claire Taylor's Enneagram retreat and 2 weeks later, and then I'll be at Author Nation. So, yeah.
Wow, you have a lot of travel coming up.
Yeah, just in few months. And so, that's it. That's what I'm doing. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok if you would like to see, some real insanity. And
it might be a video from the driver's seat, right? While you're parked somewhere waiting for a kid.
Yes, probably. But is it driving sales? Not yet. I'm getting a few. I'm getting likes. Saves on my TikTok videos, which is good. I had one on Instagram do better than any of my other ones have done in a long time, but I'm just not sure how much Instagram
Is driving stuff. Yeah. I don't think it's the same as TikTok. I think so for me, a couple of years ago when I got into Instagram, I found my people there. I found the people who like the type of books that I write. So it kind of gave me a community over there that when I launch a book now, I hear from people and I don't post there as much as I used to because I've moved away from social media, quite a bit. But there are people over there, but I don't feel like it's the same type of reach and type of viewer. I don't think they're TikTok. I think people are searching for oh, what's my next read? And I think Instagram is maybe more like, oh, I like this person. Let me follow and see what they're reading. I don't know that.
Yeah, I agree. I like the community in Instagram, on Instagram, but it's just not the same. So anyway, but that's me. And we don't have any new supporters this week, but that's okay. Thank you so much for those who do support. If you do support, don't forget the writing sprints on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes, and the link for that is in the Slack group. It's the same link for the whole month, so you don't have to find a new one. So that will be in there. And if you want to support the podcast, just go to wishidknownforwriters.com/support, and you'll get access to the previous episodes, supporter episodes, the Slack group, and the writing sprints.
Yeah. So our first question comes from Athens, Tennessee, and it says, I have a question about the numbers. Is it realistic to get 2,000 or more in sales each month in a year or two? I know there's 100 variables in this equation, but if I'm consistent with promotion and marketing and publishing, let's say one or two books a year, is $2,000 a month take home a realistic goal to have? Whew, that's a loaded question.
This is like hot take time, right?
Yeah. 4 years ago, I would have said absolutely. You can absolutely do that. I don't know now. I mean,
everything is different now.
It's so hard because, there are two factors. One, we're dealing with a mature industry now where we weren't 5 years ago. Two, the market is flooded. And so it's hard to gain visibility. That is
That's the main challenge.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yes. That is the hardest thing. So I think if you over the next couple of years, if you were consistent with putting out 2 books a year, you could try direct sales and that might help in that endeavor. And it also depends on your genre too. I mean, if you're writing in a super hot genre in KU, yeah, you probably could. Is it realistic to think that if you're making $2,000 now a month, that will continue forever? No, it's not. And I'm sorry. I wish it were. I'm living proof of that. I was making much more than that, and I am not making much more than that now. So, but there are extenuating factors in my situation. But even before I stopped being, writing or.
Yeah, for me, I feel like 5 years ago, you could launch a book, and if you got the algorithms behind you and you had a reader base, you could make good money, whether you're in KU or wide.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it's much harder. And I'm staying where I am because I have translations going and I have audiobooks.
Yeah.
And those things are kind of making up what I'm not making on the stores now, like for the ebook sales. And then I have print, which usually does pretty well for me, but things just aren't the same. And I feel like even now, I'm looking to the future going, okay, with all the AI voice stuff going on, my audiobooks are probably not going to continue to bring in the same amount of money because the audiobook pool is much smaller. There's not as many audiobooks. So it's easier to stand out there.
Right.
So I feel like that's one reason I'm looking to direct sales is because I know that audiobook income is probably going to continue to, it's holding steady now, but I think in the next couple of years, it'll decline. Yeah. So I think part of this game is you're just constantly looking around to see what's happening and what changes are happening. and just trying to stay kind of with the curve. I'm never ahead of the curve.
Well, and another thing to consider, she's saying $2,000 take home. So we're talking about what?
Well, if you get
4,000?
ads, yeah.
I mean, 4,000, 5,000 a month, because you got to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm. Taxes. And if you're paying for visibility, if you're paying for ads.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a sad truth. We're so sorry. It's not the way it used to be.
I don't want to discourage anyone, because you could be that person, and definitely try and go for it. But we can't predict the future. And in a million years, when I was making, when my income was soaring, I just didn't think that. I mean, I knew I might have some dips here and there, but nothing like what happened right after the pandemic, I guess. Right. 21 is when my income was cut in half in 21. And then,
Yeah. So. It's like this business is so unpredictable. And like when you do taxes and stuff, they're like, how much do you think you're going to make next year as you try and pay your estimated tax? I'm like, who knows? I mean, you just can't really, you can say, I'm going to release a book, but and I should get X, but that doesn't always happen.
Right.
So I would say to go for it. Make sure you have a safety net. Like if you're working a day job, don't quit your day job. And if it takes off, awesome.
Yeah.
Then you're set up.
Savings built up, and don't be afraid to go back to working if you've not been, if you've only been writing. It doesn't, I mean, as long as you're willing to be flexible and just kind of roll with things, then I think that you'll be fine.
And a lot of people are having success doing things that are not write a book and release it, like the Kickstarters that are doing special editions. And people, it depends on your genre. Like if you're in, sci-fi and fantasy, maybe like a board game or something would be interesting to your people.
Right.
So,
diversifying is, and I think people have been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
All
right.
Hope that helped.
Yeah.
And if it didn't, we're real sorry.
We're sorry. We're sorry, but we're trying to be truthful and honest and not paint.
You're not going to blow smoke. So
yeah. Okay. So our next question, it was from Sara in the Facebook group a couple of weeks ago, but I thought it was a great one. So we're going to talk about it here. It says, hello, I found the Wishing and Then podcast a few weeks ago, and I've been enjoying the show immensely. So we're so happy to hear that. The question is, it came up while listening to Jami talking about, she mentioned that your first book did really well because you already had an email list and an active newsletter. How did you go about drumming up enough interest to get that many people on a newsletter list before you launched your book? I've been working on my first book and have been wondering about how to get people on a newsletter list that isn't for a book that isn't out yet, and from an author who hasn't published her first book.
Okay. So this is what I did. And then we're going to talk about some reader magnets, which
some ideas.
But so I did a preview promo, and I've talked about this on here before. So, but maybe it'll give somebody some ideas. And actually, I have heard of people recently doing previews as reader magnets or doing preview promotions, with other people. So you might try it. I mean, what's it going to hurt? Here's the deal. What's it going to hurt? So anyway, preview promo, which was with about, I can't remember how many of us there were. I want to say 8, but there might have been more. And we all did a preview of our book. I did 3 chapters because that 3rd chapter ended on a really good hook. And we did not ask people to give us their email to get the promo. They could give us their email after the promo if they wanted to get on our email list, to get the book when it came out. I don't know that I would do that. I think I would just say, give me your email list and get the promo. Your email, and you can get the promo. Again,
it just depends on how you want to set it up. Because some people only want people on their list that they know are interested in their books. So it's a preference thing.
Right. But here's the deal. When you're just starting out, you kind of want anybody. So a warm body is a warm body.
Mhm.
And so I did that. And then I think I got 80, subscribers. So happy with 80 subscribers because I didn't have any. And then I was working for another author, and she was a bigger, pretty popular romance author, very prolific, very go-getter. And so she was doing a promo with a bunch of other authors, and she said that I could put my preview in with her promos. They were doing full books. Mine was a preview because the book hadn't come out yet. And they were totally fine to have me put it in there. And it said preview on the cover, just a preview. So it was clear. It wasn't a whole book, but they had to give me their email to get it. And I got 1,200 people or 1,100 and something. So I had 1,200 by the time the book came out. And that's how I got it. So with a reader magnet, basically. And the thing that made that so great is, one, I started emailing immediately. As soon as I got that list, I emailed them this funny story about wearing my daughter's pants, thinking I'd gained a bunch of weight and thinking they were my pants. And it was crazy. It was a crazy, zany story, which is what I write. But I was emailing them every week for 6 weeks leading up to that book coming out. And I think I want to say that like the week before, I gave them another chapter or something, so they could, to kind of whet their appetites and promoting the book. And then when the book came out, I had at least 1,200 people that were wanting the book, or,
and
at least
knew your
had
name.
Expressed interest anyway.
Yeah. And they knew your name and they knew to look for it. Yeah.
Right. And I could send out I could send out the email and say, hey, the book's available. Also, those 1,200 people gave me currency, basically, to do newsletter swaps, because while 1,200 is not a lot, it's better than nothing. And, people were willing to do newsletter swaps with me because I had 1,200 people on my newsletter list. And so I was able to do newsletter swaps from the beginning, which I think helped a lot too, because I swapped with people who wrote what I wrote. And so it was getting my book in front of the right readers.
Yeah. And that helps like with the algorithms, because if somebody shares your book who's very similar to you, it's going to show up. Yeah. As they go and click and buy, it'll show up. So that helps.
Yeah. So it helped it did a lot of things. It put like my also bots were great. And that was back when also bots were really important and they were showing up, so my also bots were perfect. It did trigger the algorithm to continue to show my book because people who read what I wrote were buying the book. And really and truly, that first book, because I was only running a $5 a day Amazon ad for that book. I was doing newsletter swaps. I did 9 days of newsletter swaps after the book came out. And then after a month or so, about a month after, it kind of like the ranks stayed real steady. And then it dipped and I was like, oh, well, it was a good run, sort of thing. And then within a couple of days, it was right back up to where it had been before. And I wasn't doing anything. I think it was algorithm. I just think it was algorithm love. And they were, that was the benefit of getting my book in front of the right readers. And then I had a magnet in the back of the book, a reader magnet, and a bonus scene, a bonus epilogue. And those people, were getting on my newsletter. I think by the end of the month, I had 2,500 people. And then, it just grew from there.
Yeah. And so all of this was, what year was this? I can't even remember now.
2017.
So things are different now. And even if you have all of this in place, you may not get the same results, but it's a good setup to try. And then, you may not have the algorithm pick you up. Like
Right.
that doesn't seem to happen as much now
Not
as
as
it
easily.
did then. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would also recommend doing some giveaways
Yeah.
just to raise your visibility. You can do a Goodreads giveaway. You have to pay for that, but it will get your book in front of lots of people who are readers.
Right.
And it's a way to increase the visibility. You can also do a giveaway at library thing. And I don't think those cost anything. Those are ebook giveaways. The ones that cost are Goodreads.
Okay. I didn't know about library thing.
Yeah.
If I was doing it again, I didn't know about Goodreads giveaways then.
Yeah.
I would have definitely done one because I think it's $199 or something. It's not
Yeah. It's not outrageous.
exorbitant. Yeah. And worth it because as we've said on here before, but if you're new, that on a Goodreads giveaway to enter they have to shelve your book as to be read. So one, it puts it
in their shelf.
But two, every time someone shelves your book to be read, it throws it up in their news feed on Goodreads. And so people see it. And
then when it releases, it shows up again. So I'm doing a Goodreads giveaway right now for the new book I have coming out October 1st.
Yeah.
Just to help with visibility. And it's ended now, but I think I had about 3,000 people requesting it. So, I mean, that's 3,000 people that I might have reached a portion of them, but probably not all of them.
Right.
So yeah, anything you can do to sort of help kind of get the word out, like get it outside your normal circle of, like that's how newsletter swaps help because they get it outside the circle of people who've already seen it. Maybe get some new eyes on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's it. But having said that, we can go into this article that we read on reader magnets by Pauline Wiles.
Yes. So I found this online. I thought it was a great resource. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's really good.
Her article is called 33 Reader Magnet Ideas for Authors. And we're not going to go through all of them. She covers fiction, nonfiction, memoir. She goes into a ton. So we're not going to run through all 33, but she does list out some ideas. And so we were just going to run through a couple of them. And hopefully that will spark some ideas for y'all. So,
and I will add that she does not have on here bonus epilogues. So
yes, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I know,
because that's huge in romance, right?
Yeah. Huge in romance.
Choice would be what for a reader?
Well, if on the front end, like if you're building a newsletter, I would say if you had a novella, then that is. And people used to say, have it a prequel or in your world or something. And that's great. If you can do that, fantastic. I don't think you have to. I think if you have something that really is an example of your writing style and what you're going to write in the future, or at least in your first series, then that is fine, because it just needs, if you wrote something back in college that's kind of dark and moody.
A literary.
Yeah.
Something literary. And now you write like sci-fi.
Cozy mysteries now. I don't know that that's a good match, but if it's similar, then,
you do want to match up as much as you can. So like if
on the front end, it would be something like that.
Right. Yeah. And there are two different types of magnets. So there's like hey, I've written a prequel. This is the way into my world. Yeah. And then I've heard the Tammy, Newsletter Ninja. Yeah. I think Tammy it was her. Yeah. She recommends, like, if you're going to have a reader magnet that you're going to be giving people after they've finished your book, you want it something that they would want. Like maybe you have like some little mention of some crazy thing that happened. Yeah. But it's not fully discussed or it's just hinted at. If you ask people, hey, do you want this short story about this event? Yeah. If they're into your books, they're going to say yes. And they're going to sign up for it, especially if that's the only place they can get it. Right. So there are different philosophies for pre-reader magnet and post-reader magnet. Yeah. Like if you've read pre-reading and post-reading. Right. And the front end, back end, that's kind of what I think of it. At front end, you're trying to get new people on that don't really know you or know about your writing. Back end, it needs to relate to the book in some way. Yeah.
and I've said this before, but one of my best, I just checked the numbers the other day, and it is my best performing reader magnet is the one at the end of the second book, where in the book I talk about the wedding, what happened at the wedding. And they talk about it a little bit, but it's not like, it's not fleshed out. And I had written the scene, but it was going to be a flashback, and I didn't want to do a flashback. So I just kept it. And that I give that away. Do you want to know what really happened at the wedding? And so it's just the weddings. It's just that scene. So what, 1,500 words, 1,000 words? It doesn't have to be a lot, but people don't want to leave. If they love the book, they don't want to leave the world. They don't want to leave these characters. So giving them something else, Katarina Morrow.
Yes, I was just thinking of her.
Yeah. She does these letters from the hero to the heroine, and it's like 5 letters.
Yes.
So five emails they get after the
end of the book.
The end of the book. Thank you very much. And it just keeps people in your world so that when your next book comes out, they're ready for more. And so I think
that's
like that's
so
awesome.
good for email open rates, because if you send one letter and the story continues like in a couple of days, and your readers are going to be clicking on that, and that just is great for open rates. And very, very smart. I was like, why didn't I think of this? So smart.
15, yeah.
Yeah. So number 1 on this list is free book or novella. And we agree with that. That's always an excellent choice, because it's you want a reader, you're giving them something to read. Perfect match. The second one I thought was very interesting, books that you put in for dedicated readers, dedicated fans of your genre. So that's like, if you like cozy mystery set in a library, here are 10 other books. And it's very specific to what your readers want. And of course, they're going to be interested in that. They're going to click on that.
And Cecilia Mecca, she did something like this before she started. Only I think she did it in a Facebook group, but that's how she grew her group. And her group was really important when she launched her book. It really helped her historical romances to really take off. And she did this. She gave away actually those books she recommended. She gave them away. But I love this idea. And what you could do is you could do books that you recommend and do your little do a review. If you did a review in your writing style, I mean, like for me, rom-coms, if I had rom-coms that I loved, and it would be funny. It would be a funny review and a fun, all that. You could really cater this to your style. And I just think this is a great idea. You just give a list of books, and
all you need really is a PDF. You can have a downloadable PDF and it could have all the covers on them and your little blurb about them.
Yeah.
And it's super simple.
And another thing you could do then would be, like, when you send the follow-up email, did you get your blah, blah, blah? Tell me the books you recommend. So then you're getting this, it helps again with your open rates. It helps with your engagement with your newsletter.
And then you're getting dialogue back and forth, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then she listed an anthology, and this could be like an anthology of short stories. It could be an actual, like if you have a prequel, you could do an anthology with all the prequels. This would require a little more work and a little more networking. But it's an interesting idea, and it could help promote your books and, widen the reach that you have.
Yeah. Well, in an anthology with other people. Yeah.
Yes.
What she was,
Yes. Yeah.
Printable quotes and affirmations. I love this one too, especially if you write self-help, nonfiction, or women's fiction. Really.
And it doesn't have to be.
It could be anything, but
yeah. I've done all kinds of different printables. I've done a printable like reading log where you can print it out and keep track of what you read. I've done a printable calendar, and readers do like that. So if for ideas on that, I would just go to Etsy and search printables and see what they have. And for my calendar, I found somebody on Etsy and I said, hey, will you design this calendar border thing for me? And she did it all. I mean, it wasn't that expensive.
That's great.
And then I didn't have to mess with Canva and moving the numbers from one square to another. She just did all that. So it was awesome. But it could be it could be quotes from your books that you send out.
Yeah. desktop wallpaper for the computer. That's really fun, and a lot of people love that.
And this was actually, I did phone screen backgrounds, kind of the same thing where,
yeah, fun.
Yeah, that was like the very, very first thing I did when I didn't have anything to give away. I created some images and put them on my website and said, go here, click this link to go to my website to download the images, and you can use them for screensavers or whatever for your phone. I think I had some for desktop, but they're not as popular as the phone ones.
Yeah.
And that one, a couple of years later, I went back in to update my Pinterest boards. I hadn't been in Pinterest for a while. And that page had gotten pinned more than anything else because people saw them and they wanted to remember them. Yeah. So they pinned them. And I was like, who knew that this was actually doing well on Pinterest? Yeah, exactly. So you never know.
I know, you never know. And I just think, like, for sci-fi, this could be big. This could be, you do that spaceship behind, as they call it, and this could be really popular with your readers. Yeah.
You might even ask your cover artist, say, hey, can you make me something that I can give away to my readers that would fit, be the correct size for a phone screen. And then you would just have to upload it, just have a page on your website or a link for them to download.
Right. So kind of branding. I mean, it could be your cover, especially if you did sci-fi and you had the big spaceship on there, and it's just that picture without all the font and typography and stuff. But it's advertising for your hey, that's a cool picture. Well, it's from a book I read.
Just make sure you get all the releases. Just check with your cover artist and say, hey, I want to use it for this. Yeah. Exactly. And it should. I think that's a great idea.
Right. Have you done the next one? I think you have, haven't you?
The bookmarks. Yeah. I actually did bookmarks for my Kickstarter as like the first, like if you just want to back it like $1, you could get bookmarks. And so that's when I saw this, I thought a way to find ideas for reader magnets would be to go to Kickstarter and look at what people are giving away for their $1 and $2 tiers, because that's basically like, here's something that's digital. Yeah. That if you just want to back the campaign, but you don't really want to spend $20-$30, you can back the campaign for $1. Right. That's where I saw bookmarks, and my readers really like them. So I'm thinking of like repurposing those and maybe just adding them to my newsletter sequence and saying, here's your digital wallpaper. Yeah. Here's your bookmarks. All these things you can have.
Great. I love that. Reader giveaway, for example, every month or every quarter. You can do this. I'm not a huge fan of this one. This is me personally. I only want people on my newsletter that want to be there. Not for a giveaway. I want them to be there for me or my books. But, and I'm thinking on the front end, a front end magnet, not a back end magnet. I mean, you can do this in your newsletter once people are on your newsletter. But for me, I personally steer away from these, but I know a lot of people that do them and they have good success with them. So.
Yeah. Some people give away a book every quarter or every so often. Yeah. And it can be a great way to, especially like after you have people sign up. Right. Like for your readers to reward them, give them a little bonus thing for following and keeping up with you and opening your newsletter. Sometimes I've done that. I've said, I'm going to give away a copy of this book. You're already entered because you're on my newsletter list. And so then I'll just pick a name and I'll email them and say, hey, you're the winner of the book. I don't do this as much now because it's more work to remember to follow up and then post who won it. Yeah. So that's why I don't do it as often as I used to.
But when you're first starting out, you got a lot of energy and you're really excited.
You have more energy.
You're not jaded and rickety sitting on your front porch going, hey, kids, get off my lawn. So exactly. The next one I think is a really great idea.
Yeah. It's a Zoom get together.
Yeah. And I think for the end of the book kind of thing, that would be so great because, readers at the end of the book just want to know.
Or talk about it.
Yeah. They want to talk about the book
and talk to the author and ask their questions. Yeah. A lot of people do this as a Kickstarter reward. Like you back the Kickstarter and you're invited to the launch party or whatever. So that's a good way to get people together talking about your book.
Right. Yeah.
The next one was a chance to win a book club in a box. For example, 10 free ebook copies and you can attend a Zoom discussion. So this would be like if you really are trying to reach book clubs, I think this is a great idea where you're giving away a book club in a box, and then maybe other book clubs hear about it, and it kind of helps spread the word.
Right. The next one's exclusive online communities, such as Facebook group, which I think a lot of us do. I don't do that as a magnet. I just do it as a, hey, join this, but that would be a good idea. And one thing she did say in this article at the beginning of the article is that she had a list of things that should be easy, blah, 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 but international. And I think that's really important when you're doing these magnets, that whatever you do it so you can give it to everybody. And a Facebook group that's a great idea. I just never thought of it as selling. I mean, an exclusive online community kind of thing.
Yeah. And I would say the same thing applies, the international thing applies to giveaways. If you want an international readership, if you're doing a giveaway, don't say just US and Canada addresses only. Just open it up to everybody and be a business owner and pay the postage. If it's,
the cost to do it.
It's a business expense to mail to, wherever it is. I've gone in and mailed stuff, and the postage people are like, oh my gosh, this is going to be $45. And I'm like, it's cost of doing business.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I will say on my Goodreads giveaways, I do US only because I do.
Yeah. Because they limit it. They'll only let you do US and Canada.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. But also on that note, if you're shipping internationally, check out pirateship.com. Because they have great rates. So I don't pay $45 anymore. So that was years ago.
Yeah, exactly. An additional free book or audiobook code for your reader to give to a friend, which is really a very good idea.
That's very smart.
Here's one for you and one for a friend kind of thing.
And that could be great. Like around the holidays, you could say, I'm giving away, X number of books. And let me know who you would like to send a book to, and I'll send you a code and a code for your friend.
Right. Yeah. I think that's great.
Yeah. Then we have a discount code to use when you buy your author merchandise. So if you have a store and you have merchandise, a giveaway is always great. Like a discount is always great for that.
Yeah. The opportunity to apply to be on your beta reader team for the next book, which we all need those. So I think that's a really good idea too.
Let's see. We have a couple, some of these like the beta reader and invitation to receive an advanced copy of your book.
Yeah.
Those may be like, that's maybe a benefit. Like once you get, I think most authors use that as a benefit, don't you? Like once you're already a reader, once you're in my group, you may have these opportunities.
That's a back end.
Yeah. And this one I thought was interesting. Suggested music playlist to accompany your book. I think that could be really fun.
Right. And I've done that, or I haven't done it as a magnet. I've only had really one playlist that was like consciously done. But I've had quite a few downloads for it. But I think about like darker romance readers and stuff. I think they really love that. I love, you can listen to it while you're reading, moody music and stuff.
Did you do Spotify? How did you do that? Yeah. Yeah. And you could also do one that's like, this is the music I listened to as I wrote the book. Because a lot of authors
that's what this was. That's what this was. Yeah. This is the music I listened to when I wrote the book. Visitor's Guide to one or more real life settings in your book. That's a great idea. Like for me, small town chamber of commerce.
Yeah.
Thing, all the point, the parking spots, the football field, diner, all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. And it can combine like with this next one, which was a map of your locations.
Yeah.
It could be fictional or fantasy. And I think you could do a visitor's guide to a fantasy world. I think that would be awesome. And people would download that like crazy.
Yeah.
And if you have a map in there of all the planets or all the, the downtown square in your little town, people are going to be interested in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Recipes, we've talked about that before. These are I don't know.
I mean, I think of recipes and I think of cozy mysteries, but it doesn't have to just be that.
no, Small Town too, women's fiction, like Pamela Kelly, she has women's fiction books that are set in
a restaurant, right?
a restaurant and ends in Nantucket. And so, she could do recipes. I think of those as being on the back end as opposed to the front end, but maybe not, maybe not.
Or maybe you do an anthology, like a cookbook anthology, like with a bunch of authors, you get together and say, hey, let's all contribute a couple of recipes to this downloadable cookbook. And then but I think what you want to do is like have your recipe and then say, this is from this book about blah, blah, blah. And it takes place here, and give them a little hooky thing that would make them interested in the book with a link, So there's possibilities there too.
I agree. And the thing about this list is it's really just to make you think, like
give you some ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Quizzes. You've done quizzes, haven't you?
Yeah, I still have a quiz that's running. I have a quiz about what kind of reader are you? Like, because I have, I've kind of jumped around a little bit. I haven't always written in the same genre. So I have a quiz that's like, if you like historicals, it points you in this one direction. If you like travel, points you in another. But you could do just a general quiz about books, reading. You could do one about, I don't know, if you're in romance, you could do, what about like, what's your ideal hero quiz? You could set up lots of different things.
Yeah. I love that.
Who's your ideal book boyfriend? Something like that.
Yeah. Cinnamon roll or alpha hero, whatever.
Green flag or red flag, something like that.
What are your red flags? What's your safe word?
There you go. Yeah. Let's see. Then we have director's cut. Share a key scene with your commentary. You might discuss what you wrote, the symbolism, foreshadowing. I kind of do this in the back of the book. I have like a story behind the story, and I share, what inspired me, but I could just take that into more detail and give more information, especially like if you write historical, because historical readers want to know, what was based on truth, what was fiction. And I would think sci-fi would be the same. Like how much of this is real and how much of this is made up, stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I did something like this at the end of Homecoming King, but it wasn't a reader magnet, but I could do it. Something personal about, my nephew's overdose and stuff like that, because it did play into the book, and so I mean, not that there's an overdose in the book, but because it's a rom-com, but just as I don't know,
kind of like it played into the book. Like you said, it's not like a major factor, but it's like something that
and
your readers would be interested in.
I mean, basically you're peeling back the curtain on the book, inspiration, the author motivation, kind of. Deleted scenes, a prequel or mini sequel to your novel. We talked about that already.
And then you have a key part of your novel told from a different character's point of view.
This is a great idea for romance.
I haven't done this, but I've also had a friend has suggested doing alternate endings, especially like for a mystery. Like you've got your whatever happened in your story, and then you could do, but what if? And then you can change it and somebody else was the killer. You could do that. My brain can't handle that. I'm like, that's the story. That's what happened. But some people might like that.
Right. And I like this because, like, especially on the back end, after they've read the book and they're in your world, like in romance, you could do the love scene from a different person's point of view. You could do the meet cute from the other person's point of view. I think I think it's a great idea. Or in a rom-com, a really funny scene, you could do it from the other person's point of view. So
lots of potential there.
Yeah, I love that idea. And then a how-to guide for getting started with a skill displayed by one or of your characters. Your readers might love to learn about making pasta, windsurfing, reading palms, etc. That's a great idea too.
It is. So if you have a character who does interesting things, then, that's good for, I think that could be interesting for like a cozy, because a lot of times you have cozies who with the characters who have interesting occupations.
Right.
But it could work like for a thriller if you have somebody doing something interesting in the thriller that's, more sci-fi or more techie.
Let's not do 10 steps to becoming a serial killer, but
No.
other things would work. They would
maybe about I don't know, blood spatter. How do you learn it? Learning about blood spatter, how they study that or something like that.
And I was thinking about for a lot of paranormal cozies or paranormal books in general, if there's a tarot card
angle to it. Yeah.
A tarot reading, like how you got into tarot or,
or how you researched it.
How you researched it, or if you had a tarot reading at some point, it changed your life, telling that story. People want to know things about the author. And so I think that's a really great idea. And then a contest to name a character in your next book or influence, location, or other big plot point. And you've done that, right?
I haven't done name a character.
Oh, I thought you had.
No, I don't. I mean, maybe I haven't. I just don't remember, but I don't think I have. But I've also seen name a pet, which I like that because sometimes character names, there's some,
they're personal.
Are you okay with being the killer in this book or not? Do you want to be the good, but not the bad guy? So sometimes the names don't fit. Yeah. So I think with a pet, that could be, there's less at stake with a pet.
Or a place, or like in a small town, you might name a location, you might say there's a skating rink and, make a scene in a skating rink or something like that.
Yeah. Or the pub. Tell us, your suggestions for a pub name or something like that.
Yeah. I love that. Or
drink.
The name, or a
drink. Or drink, or the name of the spaceship.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that.
Or the bar in the spaceship.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So those are 25.
25-ish,
Yeah, of the 30 something that she suggested. But I think those are great ideas. Hopefully they got your brains going and got you thinking about some things you can do. I will tell you that a lot of the ideas I got before I published or in the beginning were ideas I got from podcasts, listening to other people, what they did, how they did it. And Sarah too. And that's why we do this, y'all, just to give you, to empower you, to give you the tools you need to be successful.
And just taking these ideas and creating something similar or just whatever, modifying them so that they fit your world and your books.
Right.
That's how we do it. And a lot of people are like, oh, you can't do that because somebody else is doing that, but just put your own twist on it.
Yeah.
And it'll work. Yeah. So this, I think, was fun. And I'm curious if you guys have any other ideas or suggestions or things that you haven't heard other people doing, send us a text and let us know which one of these you've tried and who's worked really well.
Or if you have, you might try.
Yeah. And if you have something that we didn't mention, let us know and we will talk about other tips and ideas.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today, y'all.
Yeah. And we will have the link to the article in the show notes so you can go there and read the whole thing, get all her tips, which I think they're excellent.
Right.
And if you want to support the podcast, you can go to wishidknownforwriters.com/support. And we will see everybody next week.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye, everybody.